because we're in lockdown, we decided to watch all of the Twilight films, starting
Why are you saying it like you're constipated?
I'm going to sound like a really middle-aged, grumpy old man throughout this.
More so than usual.
Yeah, because this is shit. And not even, like... I didn't even find it particularly funny. Girl meets vampire boy. They fall in love, apparently. Some mild peril ensues. Finn. And that's it.
That's unfair. I think that
does it not. It really isn't. This is a terrible love story as well. It's just... Yeah. It's so... There's just nothing there. Like, I don't understand why they fell in love. Beyond the fact that the story needed it to happen. She just declares it.
Because Stephanie Meyer had a dream. She had a dream about chapter 13 of the book, where he says that she's his own personal brand of heroine.
Yes.
Yep. So that's where the idea started, and she then wrote the story from then, with no view on backstory. Took her, I think, about 2 months to write it, and then went back to write some backstory as to how they got there.
I can only assume that people went to watch this film because they'd read the books and liked them and thought they'd see. Because if you take that film in isolation, I've absolutely no idea how it got a sequel.
There is an interesting idea in that they are a vampire family who are essentially vegetarian. So they have chosen, even though
it's a weird choice of words, though, isn't it?
It is a weird choice of words, but they're the equivalent of, because they don't prey on human life, so they eat meat, but they drink the blood of
animal blood, yeah.
But yeah. It's a weird choice of words, but the idea behind it is actually not that sort of uninteresting, but it's realised in such an appalling way through the eyes of such an irritating protagonist that it just becomes just unnecessarily nonsensical.
They're both so there's nothing to them.
I disagree. I will slightly vouch for Robert Pattinson in this.
So he plays Edward Cullen, who is the 17-year-old 108-year-old vampire.
He starts off this film like a dog that's had its balls snipped. He's sort of, and then she walks in, and then the fan blows her smell in his direction, and he just looks at her like she's done the biggest part in the world as it walks over to him.
That was kind of amusing. But why does he react like that to her? To her specifically?
She's like the Wagyu beef of human being, just a prime cut of filet mignon. So I don't know, I'm naming all these things and then thinking, do they smell particularly pleasant when you get a whiff of them? I don't know, but
they're supposedly nice things to eat.
She's like butterscotch angel delight. Smells absolutely delightful. Like sickeningly sweet, makes you feel creepy. A little bit.
Yeah, you've made it creepy that day, definitely.
Should have stuck with the steak thing. Now you've made it creepy.
Now you're talking about how nice the 17-year-old smells.
They play with the kind of the vampire lore a little bit in this, and each of them, or a lot, but each of them have kind of their own special sort of power. Rosalie, whose secret power is the power of being beautiful.
She's the only one that talks sense in this.
Yeah.
Out of all of them.
Yeah.
Because she questions her being there.
Yeah, she's completely right. Like, we are trying to live as humans without getting anyone super close, but with people knowing us well enough that they're nice with us. And you've literally, in the space of, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I don't know how long it is, but you've invited this human into our house. And
he ruins the entire family dynamic. Edward ruins their entire family dynamic.
Absolutely.
Because he's got a hard on.
And then who's the one that can see the future, but not if they change their mind?
That's Alice. So she can see the future based on the choices that people make. So I don't really know what that means.
That's going to be a plot device further down the road, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, most certainly is. He has the ability to run incredibly fast, and also to read minds. He is intrigued by her because she is the first person he's met in 100 years whose mind he cannot read. The other reason he is so drawn to her is because she smells so very nice. So on that first... she smells so very nice. Bella Swan.
Did the writers just not feel like conveying any of this? I remember one line where he says that he can't read her mind, but that was it.
Yeah.
And the smell thing, fuck knows.
Yeah, no, so that I think, to be fair, I know, Tom, I know you're saying you got it, but it is difficult to grasp, because if you miss the fan and you misconstrue his facial expression, which is very easy to do on their first meeting in person. I get that. He doesn't look like he's overcome with desire to bite her and drink her blood. He looks like she shit her pants. Oh.
Yeah, it looked like he had the exact opposite response to smelling really good.
Now, we need to point this out sooner rather than later. Dave has read all of the books.
Smash the like button. Smash the subscribe button if you've also read all the books.
No, fuck off. That's my advice. Fuck right off.
We could do with the likes. Oh, you're that way. Chris, we could do with the likes.
If you think these films are entertaining, then fuck off.
So, Dave is a super fan. He's read all of the books, all 5 of them.
I feel like you're overselling it a little.
All of it. And he's seen all of the films. So, he's gone into this with more knowledge than me and Chris on this. Is it written like he is repulsed by her?
So just for some context, I read these books when...
you were a teenage girl?
No. It was after that period in my life. Back in 2008, we did a whole loop-de-loop of Southeast Asia, did the whole travel the world thing. And I read these books as we were essentially backpacking around Southeast Asia. I haven't retained a great deal of what was going on, because these were sort of sit in a hammock type turn the page things. This movie that we've watched this time, we watched a hooky pirate copy in a hostel. We had a private room in the hostel, but in a hostel in Singapore, where our room was directly above a karaoke bar. A Singaporean karaoke bar, right? And I was ill. We thought I had bird flu, and it felt like my eyes were going to pop out of my face. That's when I watched this movie. That's the last time I saw this movie before watching it this time. And I knew even then that I hated it. I watched it and hated it, even though I was delirious with sickness.
I feel like I might have enjoyed this more if I had some kind of like flesh-eating disease, maybe, or something, just to spice it up a bit.
I can tell you from experience that it did not enhance the overall experience of watching this movie. It was terrible then. It was terrible now. But yeah, so
Dave, to answer my question, from about 5 minutes ago.
This is all good stuff, Tom. This is all good material. This is all good for the edit.
Is it written in the books that he is repulsed by her?
So I believe the whole of the first book is written from the point of view of Bella Swan.
With the first book being from her point of view, whether that is purely how she felt, and that's why it got written, maybe if it got written that way.
Possibly.
And that's why we're now seeing it in film form.
It.
We're now, this is the problem, is we're not really, are we seeing everything from her point of view in this?
She's the narrator of sorts.
Yeah,
she kind of narrates her what I assume to be like a journal or something.
But everything around her is like not just how she perceives it, it's actually what was happening. So it gets very, and I think that's what happened. I think they filmed it that way, and then when you watch it knowing that the whole world is not just her point of view, you start going, oh, that now comes off like he actually was that way, and it doesn't make any sense. The way it is written doesn't help Robert Pattinson in any way.
I don't think it helps anybody.
Because his actions do seem illogical. Like you said, he looks like he smelt her shit when actually he's fighting the urge to want to bite her because she's so tasty. Like, that is in the way he's being directed. I don't think that's the way he's chosen to act that way.
Yeah, it's not his performance necessarily.
For all intents and purposes, he is still a 17-year-old boy. Although he's 108 years old and has lived for 100 or 103, 108, however old he is still mentally a 17-year-old boy. That was when he turned, and therefore kind of emotionally, he has never kind of been in a situation or close enough to anyone whereby he has kind of fallen in love. So this is kind of supposed to be his first time of falling in love.
This whole his mentality 17, no. He's still lived an experienced life. Just an age doesn't stop you mentally and doesn't stunt your growth. It's through learning through the world.
Of course it does. We've had a conversation before where we've talked about the fact if you gain celebrity at an early age, you stop developing emotionally.
Yeah.
Yes,
I mean, I know that's a bit of a leap from that to this, but it's
108 years.
Well, no, because your brain does change and develop as you age.
Yeah, and he doesn't age.
But he would still have lived so much more and learnt so many more lessons. Like, that's how you discover things about yourself, is you put yourself in situations you're not sure of and you learn about yourself through them. But he would have still done that for 108 years.
It doesn't fit the script. It doesn't fit the story, though, does it?
And he's lived as a 17-year-old boy for 108 years. He still goes to school. Look at all of the things that he's got.
Ridiculous. But that is ridiculous, though. That is a terrible justification for this.
Don't tell me. It's not my fault. He is immortalised as a 17-year-old boy. Can you imagine you as 17 being immortalised at that point? He hasn't continued to grow and
develop and change.
And change emotionally. He's frozen in time as the 17-year-old boy he was in 1918.
Do you remember liking the books when you read them?
I remember finding her to be incredidly irritating in both the books and
I thought they were both quite irritating.
Less so from memory in the books, but
yeah, slightly less with him, I think. But they just seem to just have these sort of constipated glances at each other constantly, and that seemed to just constitute love in this film. I wouldn't even say that she annoyed me, apart from at the end of the film when she's dying, and Dave sent a screenshot of it to us. How the crew kept a straight face. I mean, the acting is all a little bit hammy, and that I think is hammed up even more because they're vampires, and people tend to over-ham vampires quite a lot. But no, no individual part necessarily really annoyed me about this film, apart from the fact that I just wasn't interested in them. And that probably is just because I'm not a teenage girl. I'm a 36-year-old man. She's quite uninteresting. She's just a moody teenager, not with a great deal of personality. He just shuffles around looking moody. And then she declares that she's in love.
Unconditionally.
Yeah,
unconditionally
no real reason.
love.
They seem to think that her learning about him and vampires is them building a relationship.
And he gave that up. He gave that up pretty easily as well.
Yeah, he did. For 108 years, keeping that a secret. It very easily slipped out of him, didn't it?
She realises he's a vampire and then confronts him on her own in the woods.
Whilst not looking at him.
It's just like, what? There's some questionable choices from her.
And him, both of them have... I mean, maybe that's love, Chris. That's love, you know?
She's his own personal brand of heroin.
Yes, that is a scary line to tell someone and then to tell them to continue seeing you and taking you.
I wonder if any dealers after this film came out when this one's called Bella Swan. Some heroin dealers, I've got some lovely Bella here. Lovely stuff.
But the thing is,
I don't think drug dealers were watching this film. Chris.
No, but I'm sure they were teenage heroin addicts. It's not that they watched the film. It's still a business. You've got to market appropriately. I don't mind them playing around with the law, particularly, because a lot of vampire films, books, TV series always play and tweak and will add stuff in or they'll take stuff out because this
is a massive extent though in comparison. I think this is
why do you think is it just the fact that actually when they go in the sunlight he just turns into a diamond? Because all the other stuff is fairly in keeping.
It's not. Reflections don't matter.
But again, that is something that people drop
that
and
comes
pick up.
And goes. Yeah,
it comes.
The fact that they don't sleep, that's gone.
No, that was in there. That was in there because he doesn't sleep.
Yeah,
that's in there.
Vampires do sleep.
Oh, of course. Yeah, sorry, you're talking about the fact that they lie in coffins.
Vampires do sleep. They change a lot. I don't mind them changing a lot. I'm just saying they've changed a massive amount. Yeah. And we know that to kill them, you chop them up into pieces and burn them. Not a steak. No. I mean, maybe a steak works also, but we know.
Well, I mean, a steak through the heart will kill most things.
Yeah, true. But we don't know if it will definitely kill these.
No,
actually.
I'm pretty sure that they say the only way to kill is to rip them to pieces and burn the pieces. Because if you don't burn the pieces, they can come back.
So that's horrific. Like that ending scene where she's Oscar baiting, like that the bit where she's like looking at it, they are ripping that vampire apart and then set him on fire. There is nothing really before that is any way close to as just nasty as that is. If that was the start of this film, you'd be like, whoa, we're in for something here.
Like I said, like, okay, law can change, that's fine, you know, pick some stuff. There's some stuff you always need to keep for something to be a vampire film. But they are still in sunlight. If there was no sunlight, it would be night. If that's the effect of sunlight, then that's the effect of sunlight.
I assumed it was the amount of sunlight. So they're
still being hit by sunlight.
Yes, but I imagine it's like a solar panel, though.
Yeah, and it's like saying on a cloudy day, you don't cast a shadow in the same way as you do on a sunny day. He thinks it's repulsive because it reminds him of the fact that he's a vampire and a basically a predator and all of the other stupid things he says. And she says, no, I think it's beautiful. And that's it. It's one of those it's one of the little building blocks of their love story. He runs them up to the top of a hill in direct sunlight, and then, for absolutely no reason whatsoever, decides to undo his shirt to the waist to show her the fact that not only does his face glisten like fucking diamonds, so does his chest. It's like, your face would have been enough, mate. I'd have got the message from your face.
It's just a cheeky move, isn't it? Just to get
you don't work out for it and not show it off.
Yeah. No, I can see why it's there, because again, as we've said on a number of occasions, this is a movie and a set of books designed for young adults, or AKA in this instance, teenage girls. But it's such an obvious thing that I just kind of feel like you don't need it. You don't need to.
I didn't need to watch this film. I'm getting irritated talking about it, to be honest.
You don't need to watch 4 more, but you're gonna.
I don't. God, and I hate you a little bit more, Tom, for making us do this.
The whole baseball scene.
Oh God, that was.
It's embarrassing, to be honest.
So it is embarrassing, but I kind of like the idea that these are super beings, basically. They can jump high, they can mostly run, they're strong and all that. And the only time that they can actually play baseball is during a thunderstorm. One, which I first assumed, is because no one will be about, so they can fly around. I kind of half assumed that. Yeah, and then second, because the way they hit things and shout, they need the lightning and thunder to kind of cover it a little bit. I actually thought that's quite well thought out. Like, that's quite because someone who didn't think about it would have just put them in a field somewhere in the middle of nowhere. Like, and that would have been it. I quite liked the extra detail on that.
I like the idea of it. I don't understand why it needs to be there at all.
Yeah.
Why do they have to be having this family game base? It's to drive home that whole thing of they're a different thing to what vampires are, to give you that kind of juxtaposition of when those other vampires arrive. Like, so I kind of understand it. I just think it's so unnecessary, so boring. It's like I wouldn't even expect to see this in an episode of Dawson's Creek. Like, why am I seeing it here? Like,
I thought it was necessary for her to be further indoctrinated into their family life, but then also like you said, those 3 that come out, you're just straight away at the bushes. There's these 3 nasty ones. They come out immediately. You go, yeah, they're not going to play baseball. Like, they are a different type of,
Yeah,
and I thought that worked. I actually, it is ridiculous, don't get me wrong, like the way they fly around, all the visual effects in this look absolutely ridiculous.
Oh yeah, the wire work in this is worse than Supergirl.
Oh god, yeah. I thought the Supergirl wire work was excellent.
We are
really good.
But this is a big budget movie that was made 20 years after it.
I think
it's terrible.
The things they decide with the special effects are weird, aren't they? They do the running really quick, where it looks like they've put travelators underneath them as they're being pulled on something to make them look like they're running. But in your head, you're like, I know their feet aren't pushing enough for them to move at such a speed.
Their legs just aren't moving quick enough for them to possibly moving that fast.
It looks so unnatural.
But that happened in Wonder Woman as well. She was supposed to be running really fast, but it just didn't look like she was running that fast.
They cut it quicker in Wonder Woman, so you don't tell as much. This is more of, it's more full on, and I think they're proud of it. There's the climbing the trees that he just... the running up the mountain when she's on the back... That is brilliant. That is absolutely fantastic.
That is the point. That's where he says to her, "You'd better hold on tight, Spider Monkey."
That's actually little nicknames you give.
That's actually a line of genuine dialogue in this.
But this is them supposed to be
I imagine that's fun words.
It's just playful language.
It's not fine, Tom.
This is kind of like a love story written by a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
There's no depth to their relationship. There's no depth to them becoming a couple.
If anything, it's a weird, because she seems okay with the fact that he watches her sleep and admits to it. I thought at the start of this film it was relatively well shot.
Some of it is.
There's a lot of nice tracking shots of situations changing and moving. There's a bit where I can't remember. I think she comes out of a cafe and they're in a bin and he's tormenting one of the kids with something, and then he turns and does it to her as the camera follows her, and then Edward I think comes and joins her. There's some really nice sort of directed shots of movement and where the camera it's not like it could have been shot really dull and doesn't, the camera doesn't move. It could have been really bland. But then it goes cock-a-doodle-doo as soon as he admits he's a vampire. You've got Dutch angles. It's the colour grading goes even weirder. And then just from then onwards, it just feels like it was shot by kind of someone else a little bit.
Well, it feels
I get what you
like
mean.
They sort of said, right, this looks okay so far, but we need it to look more like a music video from the late 90s. It might have been a conscious choice, as part of that, the awakening of
it seems like it was
stuff. But it just doesn't really. Yeah.
It's the same with the saturation. They really sort of saturate this, don't they, and make it look just dull. And I get it. I get the point of it, but after a while you just go, a bit of colour wouldn't be bad in this, because she runs away at one point, then she goes back home and the colour changes again, and it's like, it's a different colour to your eyes all of a sudden, and it goes back to miserable.
I have a special shout out to the one of the other brother who isn't Emmett. I don't know what his name was.
Jasper.
I don't think he blinks in this entire film.
No, he's
the one that's newly vegetarian.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think he blinks once. The only reason why I'd watch this film again is to establish if he actually blinks at any point.
See, I do think this film has some kind of... It has some wicked humour sometimes like that. You're having a dinner party with a human. By the way, ignore this guy. He's going to look at you a bit freaky because he's just a vegetarian. It's that's kind of funny. I would have liked to have seen the dinner scene. There's some kind of that's a nice little sharp, wow, shit, da 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 da. It's just surrounded by a lot of blank stares and a fake relationship.
And unfortunately, that's the focus of the movie and the entire saga.
Yeah, and that poor dad.
Yeah, you said poor dad. I didn't feel that. There was a couple of points where I felt sorry for him, like Bella's dad. But he just seems really standoffish and like he's not that interested.
No, I feel like he's constantly trying to connect with her, but doesn't know how to because he's such a stoic, sort of uncomfortable man in this relationship. But
he's also also you've got you've got to bear in mind the last time it is specifically referenced during the weird perv Santa thing in the restaurant.
Yeah.
That she hasn't been there since she was 4 years old. She's now 17, so this is 13 years down the line, and she has suddenly turned up to live with her dad.
So after watching the first film, both of you, which team are you on? Team Jacob or Team Edward? Jacob. Why?
Because he wasn't in this film very much, and I really hated this film. That might change. And there was less reason to hate him than the other one. The other one was just a moody teenager that I just got pissed off with. So maybe Jacob becomes a moody teenager that I'll get pissed off with. Who knows? I mean, the likelihood is I will just hate both of them.
At this point, based on where we are in the story, or just overall based on my experience of all of it?
No, just this one. We're just doing this one, Dave.
At this point, you can only really, you can't really break them into teams because Jacob doesn't feature enough for him to even be... I'm
already backing him.
I totally disagree with that. I think Edward does so many wrong things that Jacob wins by default so far.
Yeah, it's kind of what happened with me.
Edward does so many wrong things, but at this point in the story, based on the movie we've watched, there is not even a mention, there shouldn't even be a mention of Team Jacob. You could have Team Mike or Team whoever else the other supporting characters are.
Yeah,
because,
Jesus Christ.
I'm just talking from
He should have been in it more!
No, I'm just saying, from the point of view of, if you want to split it into teams, he doesn't feature any more than a number of the other... You could be Team Anna Kendrick. To be honest, I'm probably Team Anna Kendrick. She is the only person in this whose performance I enjoyed.
What about you, Tom? Are you Team Jacob?
Yeah, by default, Jacob. So far, Edward has stalked her. I don't agree with their relationship as it stands anyway. And of course, he's invited her into so much danger and endangered his own family after 108 years. Edward is not a great guy. He is really not a good guy. And by default, Jacob is winning by quite a lot. Jacob's going to have to run over a kid for this to change, I think.
Chris, if you had watched our review of this movie, would you A, feel like watching the Twilight movie, and B, would you like and subscribe to this video in order to make sure you get our next 4 reviews of the remaining Twilight movie?
I might watch it to see how much angrier I would get about this series. That's probably the hook. How much angrier is this man going to get about this awful film?
Is this man going to explode?
Yeah, I mean, it'll come out in those voice notes eventually. One of them might just be me swearing at you, Tom.
We've made it through almost 12 months of a global pandemic, but the thing that actually tipped Chris over the edge was Twilight.
This fucking film.
So, if you liked what we've had to say here, leave us a comment in the comment section, obviously. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe. What are the other things that people have to do on the internet these days, Tom? I've done like, I've done subscribe. I haven't used the word smash. Do I need to use the word smash?
Have you got a smash?
What have you got to smash?
Do you smash the like button and ding the bell?
Smash the like button, definitely.
Yeah. Click. Do you just click on the subscribe button? That doesn't require any kind of over the top
machinations.
Over the top. Yeah, it's just simple click for that. But smash the like, because that's the one that.
I mean,
really
like maybe come in hard with the like and then gently tap the button. You don't want to break your phone.
It's the action that you're taking as opposed to the way in which you're taking the action that's important to us.
Yeah, I don't know why people need to aggressively hit like buttons.
No.
Because it makes them feel powerful in a world where they feel powerless.